let's get back to this conversation about silent treatment. Jum Jum is still talking.
Conflict. You must, even siblings, when we're growing up, we used to
Yeah.
disagree. We disagree with our parents. So how much more a man that was raised in a different environment, maybe a different country, different home,
Mm-hmm.
different values, and you yourself completely different. You now come together, fuse your life together, you stay in the same house.
Yeah.
Ask me how would there not be conflict? Somebody
Yeah.
would say, "Oh, the way we cook beans in our house is that we used to we wash the beans first before we cook it." The other one will say, "No, we cook it first, then we'll now
I
remove it and pour water." You know, that kind of a thing.
That's true.
There will
And you know,
always be conflicts,
Auntie,
but
yeah,
it is learning, and this is a learning for all of us.
it's
Me, I don't know how
learning.
to keep. Hey, if you keep malice with me, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it at all.
Mm.
It's
Auntie B, and
learning to
you know
work
what?
Wait. Did I mute? I just muted just now, right? I thought it was Jum Jum. I'm muted. Sorry. That wasn't Jum Jum? I thought you said it was Jum Jum. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Just the words. We're tackling the points, right? It's Antibi is trying to put some expectations there, right? The reason why people shut down or go to the extreme and call each other out on names, right? Let's not pretend that the person shutting down sometimes have not received some verbal abuse sometimes, right? Or emotional abuse. Or that person has been trying to express themselves, they haven't been able to express themselves. So instead of that, they just shut down, right? Right? So to each action, there's a reaction. To each action, there's a reaction, right? So, but it doesn't justify it because there's no two wrongs that make it right. What we're addressing is silent treatment, right? But let's just put that out there. But Antibi is trying to put some expectations there and say, hey, this is a part of you that have unrealistic expectations. If you know that there's going to be conflict, which is why I did the video, right? Why wouldn't you just naturally prepare for when they happen, right? Because your coconut head still have unrealistic expectations. That's why. That is why. Let's keep going.
What pisses me off is that the type of issues that I find that becomes bigger issues that
I think this is Bumi Amara I'm seeing on this screen right here. I might be wrong, but I think that's her.
they're nothing. They're things that like nothing. Like for example, maybe if I cook something and you don't like it, I feel the way you tell me, you'll not be telling me this one I don't like. I don't know how you tell your wife that you don't like something now.
It boils down to communication, Bumi.
I know.
It comes down to, so for instance, let's say that you're doing something, your husband doesn't like it and say, this is not how you do it. He says it in a harsh way, you know, not a loving way, because there's a way you can communicate.
Yes.
There's a way you can give feedback to someone that it will be agreeable. Okay. But let's be honest, it's not everybody that will take the time to say, oh, how do I say it to make it nice?
That's a good point, right? That's a good point. Especially ladies, I tell you, as much as I teach men to be leaders, listen, they're coming softer. I'm telling you right now. I'm warning you right now. They're all coming, drizzle. They're coming softer, okay? So if they are washing your pata and sharing shorts with you at home and all that kind of stuff, you should be ready to meet them in some kind of, I don't know, middle. It's still weird to me, okay? But I'm just saying, that expectation that they will just carry the weight of the emotional weight sometimes. Because remember, their language is not really that emotional stuff, right? They want to see the way it is and see that way and see that way and see that way, right? They put everything into a box. So when you bring something up from 2 years ago, it completely disconnects them from the situation, right? I'm talking about men right now. So that's a good thing to be aware of, so that when it's time for you to have a communication, you can say, hey, I know we're not talking about that right now. You can lead what you're saying with that. Like, I know we're not talking about that right now, but I just wanted to share something with you, because you know that it will trigger him to bring something off from 20. Now, before, right, a man understands suru laughing, shokobiri. He gets it. It's like, my wife is concerned about something. She's saying something from about 3 years ago, but it must be that she's concerned about something. So he can at least stay calm, like the king that he is, right? And say, talk to me, my queen. And then you say everything in your mind and say, okay, babe, I got it. Just go and take care of things I want you to take care of, because you're probably not working. And then I'll address that issue. Maybe it's with the second wife or the third wife. Like, he can handle it, can keep his home together ideally. They have their own problems too. Ideally, right? But the reality right now these days is that people are triggering each other left and right. So Antibi is trying to say, like, not everybody is able to pick up all the pieces of your emotions ahead of you and trying to say, okay, let's break it down. You too be aware that this communication can break down. No, it will break down inevitably, and you should be ready to help in putting the pieces together when it does happen. And part of that is to not just go off the undo when you get triggered, right? Part of that is to have some emotional self-control yourself. And, I still prefer, because I think it's much more sustainable, that a man carry the weight of protection, emotional protection and provision in that respect. It's actually easier for him. It simply means he doesn't have to do as much talking. But these days they're arguing with their wife and they're competing with their wife, and it's not looking good. But I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, we'll find a solution. Don't worry, we'll find a solution.
They will say it first before they will now, realize that maybe I was a bit too harsh. Okay.
Right.
And you too, but if somebody...
Oh, she's saying no one is perfect too. That's a good point, right? So when people demonstrate that they're not perfect, are you ready to pick up a little bit of the pieces?
Give you bass and you give them boost, there will be bass boost.
Auntie B,
guess what she's gonna say?
that's the problem. I'm ready for bass boost.
No. And you say you're not confrontational. That's confrontation now.
She says she likes problems. She's ready for battles. She said earlier that she didn't like confrontation. Right? But suddenly she likes confrontation. That's why we have to take our time on this conversation. Right? So in one respect, some people not some people, all of us, we have our basic human needs, right? We have, number one, we have the certainty. Other times we like variety. Certainty, we need to be sure where we're going. It's a sense of security. Variety, I like you to surprise me sometimes. Be spontaneous. Right? Confusion.
What should you be that?
That's human beings. That's why you should never make this about right and wrong. Right? That's why you must be listening actively. That's why you should understand that this is a moving target. And yesterday's rules might not apply today. Right? And that's part of the game. Right? Understanding that this is a moving target. So how do we solve that? Active listening. Where is that person coming from? Take your time. Nobody they rush you. They will feel heard. They will feel seen. Something that most people don't know how to do. You become top 5% in our society. Nobody can dump you for anybody else because you know how to do this so well. Because when they run to somewhere else, nobody's listening to them. Before they do a little interaction, see finish, don't enter. Nobody's listening to anybody anymore. So this is a skill set that you must learn, active listening, because you know that it's a moving target, right? If you're confused, you're getting upset, count down 30 seconds, active listening. You will never feel the need to shut down for anything more than 24 hours, not even close, nowhere.
That's confrontation. You see, I think we need to do more to learn how to resolve conflicts, and it's skills that we need. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the skills that we need in resolving conflict is patience.
Right. I don't have patience.
A lot of people don't have patience. You need patience. Okay. When somebody is talking to you in a way that you find very disrespectful, you need to learn the patience not to react. or not to say something back, just to be calm and quiet.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work.
I'm working on that. I'm actually better now.
No, you can do it. Just act it. If your husband is talking, for instance, just count up to 10 as he's talking. Just be counting in your mind. 1, instead of talking back, retaliating back and saying something. Just count 1 in your mind. Just be counting to distract yourself. Because if you are angry, 100%.
Now, the tricky part about that is that if you're counting 1 to 10 and you're not listening, because I just said count down 30 seconds, right? So I agree with her. Now, the tricky part, see, this is skills, okay? The tricky part about that is that if you're too engaged with the counting, I have to deal with this even as a music director in church. And I tell them, counting. The people are counting beats. They forget that this is music. I still need to feel good. Okay, can you give me some runs? Can you use your voice? Like it's an art, not an exact science, right? So the tricky part about that is that person needs to kind of feel your connection to what they're saying. You're actively listening. You're engaging. So initially, you might need to count. If you're very angry, you might need to count. But once you practice this, you don't need the counting because you know the purpose. You've experienced the benefit of active listening. So you have a foresight. You know exactly why you do. You know that there's greatness in actively listening to this person. So once you've tasted the goodness of active listening in a romantic relationship, you will never go back. But before you know it is when you use tactics like count down, just trust. We already know that what you've been doing did not work. Like shutting down or yelling or banging the table and things are flying off the table like the Indian movie. We already know that doesn't work and that can kill people. So now that you're learning this new thing, sometimes you have to have like guardrails, right? So how many times do you see cars touch the guardrails on the highway? It's almost like never, but once in a while there's an accident, you see a car run into that, right? But it's guardrails, right? That's the reality. So again, the idea here is that those counting is there for you as a guardrail. If you're very angry and you're learning this tactic for the first time, you count down. And then eventually with practice, you become better. Then you are listening actively. And then you're finding them interesting. We call it game because actually you're finding what they're saying interesting. You're finding the way they're thinking interesting. Are you manipulating them? No, this is for their own good. Of course, for your own good too, right? This is for their own good, for the goodness of the relationship. You're listening to them and you say, okay, I heard what you said. Let me repeat what you said. Just make sure I understand. Right? So now if you're too engaged with counting, you might have expectations. The other person might feel like you're being dismissive, right? Now, gentlemen, there's some tactics I want to share with you, but I don't want the ladies to be in the room. I don't want the ladies to be in the room. So I will hold off of this one. Okay? I will hold off of this one, all right? Okay, but what I was going to share is something that when your lady is very upset, but at the end of that conversation, she wants to have sex with you. I will hold off on that. Okay, this is where they say AGOI will say, Ola, you're being manipulative. But anyway, no worries, ladies. You will actually like the sex if it happens that way. Anyway, let's continue.
Your response is going to be done in anger.
Yeah.
And it's just going to escalate. However, if you can be quiet, I have a sister here who is so good at doing that. Dosh, are you there? Oh my God, this girl. Even me, I look at her and say, how do you do? She's so calm even when everybody is going mad around her, she'll just be looking. Or she'll just stand up and walk outside. It takes a lot of learning and unlearning to do that. However, if you can master it, after a while, you can now go and say, babe, you see, this thing you said to me, it's not that what you are saying is wrong. But the way you said it, I don't like it. I feel like you're talking to me like a child. I'm your wife, I'm not your child. And I feel disrespected. You know, it will enter his head more then. Yeah. And he will find it more valuable than you just come in and say, if he shouts at you, to correct you, and you shout back. Back.
That's true. I don't know if I'll call it malice. I just don't like fights. Like, I just like to keep to myself because, again, but I won't talk about.
By the way, what she's describing really, really fits the avoidant attachment, okay? This is the 4 features of avoidant attachment that I found. They are uncomfortable with emotional closeness already, okay? Not like they don't want to connect, but they may shut down or withdraw if conversations get too personal or confrontational, right? They have trouble communicating openly. They might dislike sharing their feelings or needs. It's awkward for them, okay? So they rather shut down. So they're going towards one pain that's easier for them than the other pain. Number 3, they are very independent, right? I just like my own space. You heard her just say, she just said it.
Fight. Like, I just like to keep to myself.
I just like to keep to myself. They are very independent. They may see relying on others as weakness. Sometimes they feel like they cry. Like she says she's crying. She does not want to cry. because of that. So that sounds like a terrible thing as far as the way she put it. Like, that's not a bad thing if you cry, by the way. If you want to cry, cry. If it's a real emotions, somebody says something to you, you cry, especially as a lady, it's allowed, you know. But she's independent. She would like to stay that way. So when she finds herself in a place of vulnerability like that, the way she responds to it is to shut down. This is what Kubel say, know your partner. I said, no, you're not his therapist. Okay? No. I refuse. Even myself, I have coconut head. Anybody saw Yule Doche today bragging about his coconut head earlier today? Okay. All right. So, no, I don't want to be bragging about coconut head. My point here is that it's not job of your partner to be your therapist. Okay. But I agree. It depends on the context that you should know your partner. But in this context, silent treatment is terrible. Full stop. You should learn better ways to communicate. They pull away during conflict. So, the shutdown, they pull away during conflict. It's not necessarily intentional. It's a style. It's part of their personality, right? As much as they're like, oh, I like to do that, it's just they've seen themselves done it for so long. So they're calling it, that's just me. But it's actually a habit that you've learned over time that you must change because you will sabotage your relationship if you keep doing it. It's a matter of time. So they pull away during conflict. They might stonewall you or end the conversation abruptly. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Okay? Anybody want to guess in my own personal relationship with my wife who is more like that? Anybody want to guess? Who tends to shut down? If we ever get into that space, we rarely ever, not in the last 5 years straight, but you guys have heard my story. You will know who tends. If you've heard my story long enough, you know who shuts down. I'll give you a hint. It's not me. Yeah, it's not me. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Okay, it's okay. I've heard you, but you could feel it. They're being dismissive, right? And she hates when I'm being dismissive. When I first started learning how to listen, active listening, I ended up in Poto because I was being... Yeah. Because I ended up in Poto, I was learning to not be all, that I learned that instead of, I was trying to do the Brabeno thing, right? Know your partner. So, okay, she doesn't want to talk about it. So when she's talking, I just listened, but I wasn't engaging. So she took an offense to that. She said I was being dismissive. She could tell. And also keep in mind, almost simultaneously, she was learning these principles with me. So that came off as offensive because it was feeling like somebody's gaming somebody, like AG Ohio was saying, right? So I had to learn that it's not just about not saying anything, but also engaging. So you mean this? Is this what you mean? Okay, I understand. Like, right? Like normal human beings talking, right? So even if I'm counting, I will forget that I'm counting by the time I hit 2, right? Because I'm actually listening. I'm interested in what she has to say. Get it? Of the system Myers-Briggs personality type, introverted fillers are the most likely to avoid confrontation. Listen, message me on the back end. I think you might know this stuff more than I do. Maybe if you like to share, please, we can do another session entirely later on. Introverted fillers are most likely to avoid confrontation. Yes, avoiding confrontation is I've said it's coping mechanism. It's not somebody sitting down somewhere and say, I want to hurt you. When we engage the Uncle Beno's submission quite a bit, it almost seems like it's an attack against him. No, that's not the point of this conversation. Okay, I needed to correct him that actually you're coming off as you're doing intentionally. It's not that you're not that intentional. I say that here all the time. You're not that intentional. There's something about your style that's making you do that, and it's something that you must be aware of and change because it's actually creating damages. And the idea of it creating damages is that you won't know it's creating damages until it's too late because it causes resentments. So. Yep, let's keep going.
Because again, but I won't talk about it. That's
I was talking about you.
I won't talk about it.
Yeah, you do that very well, and I really like that about you. Nina said, Auntie B, don't cuckoo scatter the table with me, chilling on top of it. Me and Malice keeping there. I need community intervention because I can keep Malice for Africa. Shameful.
Hey.
Yeah. She said, see, that's an example. She said it like it's intentional, right? No, it's not exactly intentional. You don't just sit down there and like, something happened that made you keep malice. You're avoiding pain. Okay? No, you don't have the foresight to say, I'm going to wait 3 days so that she can come back and apologize. No, they don't, for the most part, don't have that. That's not where it's coming from, right? For the most part, there are exceptions. For the most part, that experience is painful for them. They are avoiding pain. So when you understand that, it also helps you engage the crisis in a better way. So that, because when you engage it, this person is just being wicked to you. Of course, now you want to wicked to them because hurt people hurt people. Naturally, you would want to respond in hurting them back, right? Because they hit you below the belt, you want to hit even lower. So it's very important to see this as no. It's not that much of an intentional act. It's certain people's way of avoiding pain, coping. Yes, creating toxic relationship, but coping. Welcome, Missy Ju. Good to see you. Let's keep going.
But you know what works for me is that the person that I'm now with, he does not even, he would say what's on his mind and he's finished. Me, I will not start unpacking it. It can take me hours to unpack. I'm like, eh. So
did you notice she said what worked for me? Okay? That's what's working for you now. It doesn't have to be permanent. Like anything else, it's a learned behavior. You can unlearn it. And you can learn some better ways of coping with life in a way that you can actually build better relationships. That what work for me thing. I need a very nice sound effect for this one.
Oh my days.
It's coconut head. It's coconut head that says what work for me. Okay? After all, you like to call it what it is, right? Let's call it what it is. It is coconut head that say what work for me. Okay, there are exceptions, but that's what that is. Okay.
this is how you truly feel. You understand? So it's better communication and patience. I'm learning patience. I'm actually learning. I'm much better. I just don't like fight because I know that when I enter fight, like
at least she's being accountable. You heard that, right? Let's keep going.
It's WWE. Me and you will finish that fight.
So for the person that is talking about that, they are happy.
I think she's talking about the past. Sabio says the person keeping malice is who suffers, especially with someone like me. No, Sabio. No. Let's go back to what Auntie B said. If you can't comprehend the idea that a person can actually go for straight 2 weeks and not talk to a person they are having sex with, you never see anything yet. Right? You will suffer. You will hate it. That's why they call it abusive. Yeah, that's why they call it abusive. Because if it's especially you, that means you are better at the game of shutting down than them. No, 2 wrongs don't make it right, remember?
Keeping malice. You know what they say? The day you realize that you have an issue, half of the problem is when you have a problem, you solve half of it already. Now you know. Okay, you are aware. Self-awareness is very important. Yeah. Now you are aware.
Self-awareness.
This thing.
Yes.
Then you not got to ask yourself, why do I do it? Why?
Hmm.
And is it helpful? Does it solve what? Because I guarantee you, it never solves anything. Like Bill said, the person keeping malice is the one that suffers, especially with someone like who doesn't even notice. You can live with someone.
No, you will notice. So now noticing is another topic entirely. If that's a possibility at all, that's even worse. But that's another topic. That's another topic. She's going to elaborate a little bit more. But it went completely left after this even more. Let's keep
going. Who doesn't notice that you're keeping malice? They just carry on their normal everyday life. then you'll be, as a woman, you'll be like,
It'll
hey,
be more
I'm not
infuriating.
talking to you.
Yeah.
It will pain you more.
Yeah.
Now, okay, some men, okay, gentlemen, it's terrible. Okay, you cannot notice that your wife is keeping malice with you. Like, Jesus Christ, what kind of disconnect is that? No. Another topic, but let's leave it alone.
Yeah, I think we need to have better skills. We need to train ourselves to have better skills at communicating. You see, when we say communication is key, this is the communication.
Yeah. What I know that has worked for me so far from learning that I don't have patience is that I anticipate what will happen. So when I already know that that's how it is, so I don't take it personal now. So I'll be like, the way you said this, I don't like it. I'm just saying it. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. But I anticipate. I don't take it personal like before.
So a lot of people in the comment section are giving different interpretation to malice, silent treatment, avoidance. I think whatever name you call it, it boils down to the same thing.
Same thing.
It's the same.
Same thing. We already covered this earlier on. We're talking about keeping malice, not malice. Keeping malice, particularly in Nigeria context. Silent treatment, stonewalling. That's what we're talking about, okay? And yes, shutting down if it means more than 24 hours. That's what we're talking about. Withdrawal if it means more than 24 hours. That's the same thing, okay? So when we talk about shutting down, had more than 24 hours to it. When we're talking about withdrawal, to had more than 24 hours to it, right? And particularly, you're using it to avoid the pain of conflict. All right, it's a strategy. It's a terrible strategy. That's what we're talking about.
It's the same thing. We call it malice in Nigeria. In the abroad, or people call it silent treatment. It's the same. Avoidance is the same. It's when you withdraw from the person totally. You don't talk to them. You avoid them, and even when you're going to say anything, it must be.
Let me spell this out. You avoid them. You don't eat their food. You're sleeping in another room, right? You're sleeping on your baby's bed. You're sleeping on the couch, right? And you're doing that for more than 24 hours. We're not just talking about backing off of a conversation that has gone left for a little while so that you can come back to it. We're talking about more than 24 hours. I put the number on it. You can put any number you have on it. Make sure your number has respect for social intelligence, because most of us, we agree on a certain number here. If we count 9 out of 10 people, most of us will say that 24 hours is quite a long time. So let's not act like, oh, for me, I can go 3 weeks. What about if it's 3 weeks? What if I don't have sex for 3 weeks? Baba, something is wrong. Okay? Because you live in a society and you're living with another human being. That's, if you're that completely disconnected from society, there's a good chance you're married to a person that's not that disconnected from society. So you know what that means, right? If you don't live in a cave, don't act like you live in a cave, so you don't collect.
Absolutely necessary for you to say it, and you are cold, totally cold towards them.
No emotions,
no emotions, no nothing, no laughter, no joy, nothing. You don't sit with them, and if you do it for an hour, it's okay. But doing it for, we're talking about weeks.
No, I don't do it for weeks.
For months.
Let's speed it up a little bit.
No, that week, no. My own is hours, because I just want to step away, and because I don't want to cry. I don't do it.
She said her own is hours.
Let's see what Yvonne had to say in that when she was talking about how her husband
malice,
the chief malice keeper.
We have issues. I don't know how to keep malice. I don't know how to fight, walk out, and come back and see you and not talk to you. I cannot operate like that. Especially we are only 2 in a building. John Toriolong, am I going to talk to him?
I think John Toriolong.
But he had A1 in malice. So that was what ended the marriage. It was the fact that we kept malice for 3 weeks and I was pregnant in the same house. I just packed my bags one day and I said,
can you say that? 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And she was pregnant.
A woman that is pregnant is very hormonal. Normally,
terrible idea.
Normal. Like, in terms of their emotions, no. You know.
Gentlemen, whatever you did to offend her when she's pregnant, she will never forget. And a very high chance she will never forgive you.
We offer evidence-based relationship and marriage resources and coaching to help you navigate the difficult times.
Don't just wing it. Learn the principles that work.
Download our 2 free books and book your complimentary coaching session now at manofprestige.com.